Hi, I'm Mary.
Hello, my name is DaVonte.
What do you wish other people knew about living with bipolar disorder that we don't?
It's a battle.
Okay.
And I'm trying. I love improving on myself and my mental health because I know that it's going to make loving the people that I care about a lot easier.
Hello, my name is Dr. Ken Duckworth. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Thank you for joining. This conversation the expert is in recognizes that expertise comes in many forms. And we're focusing on the lived experience of a conversation between a family member and an individual who lives with bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder impacts just under 3% of Americans, about equally distributed between men and women. And the signature event of bipolar disorder is a manic episode. A manic episode can be described as periods of very high energy or intensity, and it may be accompanied by risk-taking behavior or impulsivity. That is the classic bipolar disorder, bipolar 1. Bipolar 2 has so-called hypomania, which is a less intense form of mania. Most people with bipolar disorder spend more time in depression than in mania. It is a highly treatable condition and one that is important to learn about so that you can best manage it. Please enjoy this episode of The Expert is In. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary. I am a volunteer and board member of NAMI San Gabriel Valley. I have bipolar experience due to a loved one in my family.
Hello, my name is DaVonte. I've been diagnosed bipolar now for 2 years, and I'm 25 years old, and this is my first experience with NAMI.
DaVonte, tell us about your experience with bipolar.
My first experience probably happened when I was a child. During high school, I was one of the kids who had what would be called like behavioral challenges. I was into jazz band, I was into sports, but there would be days where I didn't want to do any of that. There would be days where I would just sit inside, not eating, not talking. And so it wasn't until about 2 years ago where my diagnosis actually made sense, which is why I wasn't angry about it. You know, it was like the first time I actually got a real answer rather than me trying to figure out like, oh, I just don't like basketball, or I love basketball. But it was just the episodes that I would have would make me fall out of love with everything I was interested in.
Wasn't that enlightening?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I would say like my experience with bipolar is still ongoing. I'm only 2 years into my diagnosis, and I'm still learning a lot about myself, a lot about the condition itself, and how to kind of, I guess, re-assimilate my social life, because my social structure, I used to not hang around people that would, benefit my sort of mindset or benefit my condition, and that is a big part. You can't be around people who don't love you. You can't be around people who aren't supporting you.
So it sounds like you've been through different types of treatments.
So I actually just finished. It's a ketamine infusion treatment, and the science behind it is kind of crazy. It's designed to make new receptors in the mind. So you're going through the same things, but you're processing it different. It's allowing new pathways for information to be processed in your mind. So it's great for people who have habits with smoking, PTSD, who are suicidal, have anxiety or depression. It allows the brain to think differently instead of being trapped in that
vicious cycle.
Exactly. That goes hand in hand with taking meds. I mean, medication is another treatment that people don't want to talk about. And maybe meds aren't the right thing for you, but there is a treatment out there that you could try that is for you, that will help you. The hardest thing to come to grips with is the fact that I can't do this on my own. Like, this isn't something I could just sit in my house and, all right, DaVonte, think straight. Like it's a process. You do need guidance in a lot of areas.
Would it be right to say you have such a cloud over you, or something is just paralyzing you down and weighing you down?
That's like almost,
physically.
Yeah, that's almost an exact represent. So if I were to visualize my bipolar, it would be like cloudy but like sunny too. You know that emoji that has the clouds and then the sun's right above it? Mine would be that, but then it'd also have like a lightning bolt. My mood kind of fluctuates from being happy to that kind of gray cloud area to just being straight lightning depressed. Like, all the therapies in the world it's not gonna make it completely go away. I think it's just, it makes it manageable, but there's also, being involved in groups or different communities that help you kind of tolerate like what's going on in your mind.
What about just educating yourself?
That's a lot to do with accepting what's going on around you, what's going on with you. Being educated about anything that has to do with mental health it should be essential, but it's not just about the individual anymore. The people that you love and the people that are around you, how can they support you if they don't know what's going on, or if you're still in denial of what's going on? We're building this puzzle right now. Those are kind of like the corner pieces of having I guess a successful outcome, which in this case would be finishing the puzzle.
Education is part of the foundation, and once you kind of have the foundation, then you can have everything else to build around it according to whoever needs support. Because your bipolar is going to be different to my family loved one's bipolar, different to somebody else. When we say they're like 50 shades of gray, there's probably 5 million shades of gray when it comes to bipolar.
It's true. Another thing is the environment, where you grow up, who you're growing up with. I mean, there's some states here in this country that aren't fully aware or aren't accepting of the fact that mental health is something that we actually need to focus on, is something that we actually need to educate the communities and families about. It's surprising to me how long it's taken for opportunities like this, like where we get to talk. Because it used to be, I can't wait till I see my therapist, I'm gonna have so much to say. Now it's like I have other people that I can share my story with.
Being a volunteer with NAMI, this is something that it's always open for you, and I can always be here for you if you need it. No, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm looking in the eye and telling
believe
you that, okay? It's something that I cannot talk to my loved one about because my loved one is very shut.
Yeah.
It's not something open.
If I were to be alone, or if I had a family who was out of state, out of country, making it harder for me to, I guess, share what I'm going through, it'd be a completely different story. I don't know if I would be as open or as aware of my own self as I am now, because that really kind of comes from the love of other people, So I love improving on myself and my mental health because I know that it's going to make loving the people that I care about a lot easier. I think the biggest dig, as I've said now a couple times, of being bipolar is my relationships with other people. That's been, oh my gosh, a nightmare sometimes, because what I'm getting out of the situation, the conversation or argument, is completely different from what they're getting out of it. It's just training the mind to think differently, and I think that's where other therapies kind of come in handy, because you can't do everything on your own.
No, and why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you think would be some of the misconceptions about bipolar disorder that you have experienced?
Everyone who has bipolar does all the symptoms. It's not really true. So I'm bipolar too, so I just have extreme anxiety and depression. So when I'm up, and when I'm down, I'm down. I mean, you're born with the genes, but a lot of it is brought on by triggers, what's going on around you. Yeah, triggers is another big thing. I mean, that's the misconception, is that triggers only happen to people who have mental illness. Like, that is not true.
No, I don't think that's true. You're right.
There's a couple different books about loving a person with bipolar. It takes a certain strength that a lot of people aren't kind of willing to like dig for in a relationship. Even sharing that I'm bipolar, like on a to my partner or something like that, I'm thinking of it now and I'm terrified by it, because there's a lot of scary stories. I don't want to lie, but I also don't want to be rejected at the same time.
A lot of people are afraid when they hear bipolar. I know, because I see their face cringe. But I don't cringe, because I understand it and I have compassion. I'm educated.
It's hard to confess it to another person in terms of relationships. And what you need, like a lot of times I don't know what I need. Communication gets a little bit fuzzy,
I think that's not indicative of only a person who has or identifies as being bipolar.
Yeah.
That's what everyone on this planet.
Yeah.
What areas is your life impacted most by bipolar, you think, DaVonte? Aside from the relationship, because you
Right,
mentioned
right.
that. But what about a relationship with your own self?
I'm gonna be straight up honest. There are times where I loathe myself for the things that I either put other people through or the things that I put myself through. In a lot of situations, I have like impulse control problems. So my judgment when I'm depressed isn't the best. The areas that are impacted, pretty much anything I'm involved in. From school to work to like relations with other people to my own hobbies, my own activities that I like enjoying, my relationship with my dog. It may sound like, oh, well, it sounds like bipolar is just somebody who just thinks way too much. In a way, I do think a lot, but it's more than that. I'm thinking just as much as the next person. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but I'm feeling 10 times more than what the average person is feeling. And so there's other people with no mental instability who think 10 times more than I do. It's just, I'm feeling it way faster and way harder.
But without processing.
Yeah, without processing.
So do you find yourself going through this motion, ups and downs, in a very short time, like in a week or longer?
It'll be anywhere from a couple days, no eating, no sleeping, to a full week, no eating, no sleeping. I mean, I haven't had episodes like that in a while.
Because of the medication.
Thanks to medication and different treatments and therapy. And I could get back to normal to where I'm eating and sleeping, but I'm still not the same person. Being too happy, I feel it clouds judgment just as much as being super angry. A couple years ago, I got the privilege to meeting my birth family, and one of the things my uncle said, he was just giving me just a quick advice, but he said never make promises when you're happy and never respond when you're angry. And I thought, and I remember that to this day, because in my manic moods or in times where I'm like super up, I'll do anything. I'll promise, I'll be here, I'll be there, like I'll do that, I'll do this. But once that goes away, I'm not doing anything, and my commitment level is completely at a zero. Balance is key. You want to be in an area where you can pivot through different situations and navigate through what is reality rather than, I feel on top of the world today, I'm gonna go buy a car. Under the guise of, I'm treating myself, but it's like, are you though? You know? Are you doing that because you think it's gonna make you feel better, or?
Retail therapy?
Exactly, yeah.
People go into debt in that
quickly. And then it ends in what though? You just have stuff.
It's
now.
material
things.
things.
You just have stuff. My impulse buying is junk food. I'm a stress eater.
I get that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have hot Cheetos or some Sour Punch straws or a Fanta. But that's the manic phase though. That would be like the representation of the sun. Like me just trying to feed my manic behavior with these different things, recreational drugs, drinking, which I try not to do a lot. Subconsciously, what I'm doing to just keep feeding that manic high so I can never go back to being disinvolved into anything, you know? I've yet to find a solution that completely changes my mood, unless I'm happy and then I hear something that's not happy and that changes it. But even then, it is something that I have to kind of just write out. There could be something, I play drums, I skateboard, I play basketball. Those are all activities I could do to get outside my head or to relieve that kind of pent up stress. But do I do them every time? No. Am I aware that they could help? Yeah. But I think being down is taking so much of my energy that I don't even think if I just go outside and sweat, maybe I'll just forget about this mood I'm in. But it doesn't register like that, which brings me back to the treatment that I just finished up doing, allowing my brain to kind of actually get out of that cycle, to stop thinking in that trap of doesn't matter, it is what it is, I'm just gonna be in this mood until it goes away. And it's not even just hanging out with friends, it's going to class, it's turning homework in, it's calling my mom back. Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like my reality is just negative. I had a good week, but of course this had to happen, which I guess now it means none of it is destined to happen. Or, putting myself in this absolute situation just because of an experience I had once, a conversation that I had that makes me feel uncomfortable, and now I have to go burrow in my home and be by myself and watch Sopranos for the rest of the night. There's a difference between sadness and depression. Sadness is you have a death in the family, or like something happens and you become sad. Depression is a state of mind. Like I would explain it as a state of mind. It looks like I'm sad and it looks like I'm dysfunctional, but the reason behind it isn't so clear cut. It'd be like, I'm graduating in a year, but I don't know what I'm gonna do after that. I don't have any friends. It's like an ongoing like whole of things that probably
Dialogue
aren't. Yeah,
for
like
yourself?
exactly. You're worried about like things that haven't happened yet, or things that might not even happen, or things that happened in the past.
You feel more paralyzed with it.
Yeah, you're stuck.
And
Yeah.
your body reacts to it.
You're stuck.
Mental illness is so much more common because everyone has a brain. Everyone has to
Exactly.
look out for their own mental health.
Thank you for watching that conversation between DaVonte and Mary. DaVonte said it best. He wants to work on himself in order to be more loving to the people in his life. And there's a strong research led by Patrick Corrigan of Illinois, who has said that in his research, contact with people, listening to people's first-person experience is actually the best way to improve attitudes and reduce the problems we have of shame, prejudice, and isolation. This conversation, I think, is a good example of a new way of learning. People who actually discuss what they've experienced. And you can get a better understanding of what DaVonte has been through and how he thinks about it in the course of this conversation. Thank you.
Arguments that I have. I told you this already, like you do this all the time. Like I know, and I hate it too. And having somebody who's educated or educating themselves about bipolar means like the world. You want to see results when you go to the gym. You don't go one time and say, oh yeah, I'm looking good. Like you're going months in a row to get results, and that's the same thing with treatment.